Hi, my name is Abdullah and I'm from EV Mechanica, and today we are interviewing Mr. Rohit Katani from Euler Motors. I welcome you, sir.
Hi Abdullah, it's pleasure to meet you.
Sir, can you just brief me about the company Euler Motors and what's its main objective of
So sure, Euler Motors, we started around in 2018, and we have an indigenous tech stack. We have built the vehicle from ground zero, no retrofit, nothing, and most of the products are also made. Whether it be design mostly is in-house, most of the sub products basically, and we were the first one to experiment with a lot of e-commerce companies as well with our initial products, and then finally we came to the product market fit, and in 2021 we launched our first three-wheeler L5 product, uh, first of its kind in its category in terms of payload, in terms of fast charging, in terms of range. That's why we saw a huge adoption as well. Uh, and as we move along, obviously want to be number one LCV company in coming years in in that segment, in the cargo segment.
okay. So, like, can you elaborate on like the vision for the future of electric mobility in India, and like how do you plan to achieve it?
Sure. So, firstly, I'll talk about how electric mobility is actually changing in India. When I just talk about this, has been a lot of support from policy level and government level as well in adoption, whether it be the FAME subsidy or whether it be the state subsidy from the Delhi government as well. And it was initially necessary for the product adoption as well, and right now, as you see, there's more than 60% adoption in states like Delhi for EV, while
Mhm.
cities like Bangalore, Mumbai, Pune, Hyderabad, Chennai are at 20-30%, but they're also about to reach maybe in a year's timeline. So we believe that around 70 to 80% of the vehicle will go will go electric, especially in the LCV, MHCV segment by 2030. That level of adoption should reach 70 to 80% in say 5 to 6 years timeline. And obviously, for that, we also need ecosystem support and more policy making as well. And from
Mhm.
Euler's perspective, as I talk about, uh, we obviously have uh, launched our first product in 2021. And at that time, the TCO was only making sense for the L5 product three-wheeler, because as you go along, the product price also changes and affordability obviously comes into the question, and that's where the financing also comes into the question, the affordability of the product. And we believe that TCO sooner or later will see more products reaching TCO, justifying their. So when I say TCO, for the broader audience, it is the total cost of ownership, which you basically
Mhm.
calculate over 5 years, including your financing cost and your OPEX cost. How much are you paying? A customer will only take finally a product when TCO makes sense for him. It is cheaper than the incumbent product which is there. We believe all other products, all within the LCV segment, more products reaching the TCO level in coming years, and that's where Euler Motor is also positioned right now. We would also follow the market whenever the TCO is getting justified. We would go ahead and launch a product for the wider audience for the uptake of it. And as we speak, our focus, we are an engineering driven and product focused company. And our products will be one of the best within the category segment. Even when we launched, our product was highest range, highest payload, because most of the products were made from, say, ICE mindset, but we were EV first company. We did our own homework and launched the products.
Okay. So it's like a
And
future thing.
as we move along, when we started off, we had only Delhi. So in terms of expansion, also I can talk about when we started
Mhm.
off, we were only in Delhi, and then Bangalore started. From two, we moved to five cities, and from five to last year, we were around 22, 25 cities. And in coming
Mhm.
years, we are expanding our network and planning to reach 50 plus cities by in this financial year.
Okay, okay, that's insightful. It's more like a future aspect. Now, can you tell me what are the current challenges and opportunities like in the electric vehicle finance sector, and how have these evolved in recent years?
So when we started off, obviously, product being new, if I just talk about how financing, there's obviously a product risk which is there, and then there's a credit risk which is there for the financier. Credit risk mostly pertains to the customer. So if the customer segment remains homogeneous, it is the product risk which is important for the financier. So as when we started off around 3 years back, there were very few financiers who were willing to take finance the product, but as we are moving along, the number of financiers has risen dramatically, or now we are seeing even local NBFCs even participating, and some of the banks also we
Hmm.
have seen keen interest because they are also sensing that EV is the future and it is the right time to go into. Uh, so that's what we are seeing right now. But obviously, if I just talk about say ICE vehicles, then there are more than 100 of banks which are actively participating in this segment. We are in the EV
Hmm.
segment. We are only seeing a certain segment of the banks or NBFCs participating. We need a wider participation to make it more accessible. Say if we move along, if we really want EV to be successful, it is not only markets like Delhi, Bangalore, or Chennai. It
Hmm.
is across India that will make it successful. There are plenty of financiers who are operating in major metros and say in tier one, tier two cities as well. But the need of the hour is to we need people, we need support from in tier three, tier four. Then only we can expand and make EV accessible for everyone.
Okay, like coming to the finance question only, like how does the integration of data provided by the Euler Motors enable finances to deliver more tailored and innovative solution to the potential customers?
Sure. So there are two, three things which is important for financiers basically. One is say the collection of EMIs, right? Whether they are able to collect the EMIs uh, at timely basis, and if there's any default, if they can get a warning related to the default. So what we have done is we are providing dashboards and APIs as well to our financiers where they can see how much the vehicle is running, whether just to give an example, say if someone has not run the vehicle for 5 days, then he has
Hmm.
probably lost 20% or 15-16% of his revenue that month. Then
Hmm.
he might default at that month. So the financiers can actively approach the customer and identify his problems, etc., to figure out whether
Hmm.
he'll be paying EMI so that the default doesn't happen. Second case is when the default actually happens, then you have to collect the vehicle. So we also provide APIs where financiers can directly immobilize the vehicle and collect it. And in many of the cases,
Hmm.
what we have seen is because of the, and it's a hard immobilization, it is not soft immobilization that people can just refix it going to a local mechanic or something. It's a very hard immobilization which is there. There also we have seen financiers who have immobilized getting their EMIs back. And the
Hmm.
third thing which is important is to assess how much more the vehicle will last, or the secondary, the residual value of the vehicle. There also we are providing a lot of data points, whether it be the state of health related to battery, etc. Because battery constitutes a large chunk of the cost of the vehicle. And
Hmm.
we are also providing information related to those components. And slowly, we are also providing, as we are moving along, we are also providing other important data points whenever the financier requests, if it is possible and if it is measurable as well. We have gone
Hmm.
forward and provided those data points other than battery as well, so that the financier can assess the residual value of the vehicle and can take action accordingly.
Okay, so this was focused mainly on tier one cities. Like, the next question from my side is like EV sales are the highest in tier one, like due to the availability of financing
Mhm.
options. So, however, the demand is equally high in cities beyond tier one. So, how does Euler Motors planning to cater to the demand of those customers, like outside the tier one, beyond tier one?
So beyond tier one, yes, so beyond tier one, we are obviously expanding. We have gone to different other markets as well, different clusters which we have identified as our growth clusters within those states, etc. And as we are moving along, obviously there are financiers who are coming along and partnering with us as we are entering the market. But there are two, three concerns which comes into the picture. Ready financing availability is not there. We have to pre-seed the market with financiers, or financiers have to pre-seed the market, come there. And then obviously it delays penetrating into these markets. But say obviously in tier one markets, financiers are more than ready with their workforce, etc., to go and enter the market. Uh, that's one part of it. Other than that, I'm just talking holistically, not only from tier one, tier two, tier three perspective, but across all the things. Another point,
Okay.
important point to focus upon is uh, government should also, or say policymakers should also work uh, to how to enable green financing, because there's a lot of green financing which is available from international markets. How
Hmm.
can they be made accessible for EV financing in India? Because that's a major growth segment as well, and that will move our country towards decarbonization as well. And if such
Okay.
financing could be made available to our end customers, finally, who are in tier two, tier three, tier four markets as well,
Hmm.
we will see a lot of changes and a lot of adoptions happening. So obviously, one is ready financing, but I take a view of say 3 to 4 years. Then how can we make available those cheap financing options for these financiers, which in end turn would finance these end customers as well?
Okay. Coming to the next question, like how can data be utilized to enhance the secondary market for the financial product?
Sure. So here for secondary market, if I just talk about that battery is one of the most costliest part of the vehicle. So we
Sure.
are providing different data points in real time about battery to different financiers. That gives an approximate. So obviously, how much say even so typical tenure for a three wheeler would last for say 3 to 5 years, but in
Okay.
reality, the battery would last more than that. So
Okay.
if you go to a secondary market, uh, how much lifetime is still left, how much juice is still left where he can run his operations, where the end customer can run his operations. And we have very
Hmm.
advanced testing systems as well, which accurately determines how much range is basically left in the vehicle without going recharging. And obviously we also facilitate fast charging as well, which also
Hmm.
helps, because finally end of the day a customer would typically want to run say 100 kilometer, and our
Yeah.
range is, for a typical customer type, our range is good enough for say 5 to 7 years. But even
Hmm.
beyond that, they can still use fast charging. And if still after that also there's a drop in
Hmm.
battery health, then we
Hmm.
are also helping them to refurbish batteries, etc., uh, as well. And fast charging will enable them to say run without any additional cost. They will be able to run the vehicles for the required range as well.
Oh, okay. That was very insightful.
And so obviously, and how we are facilitating, yeah, so it's how we are facilitating is basically via data's APIs. We're also helping
Hmm.
them understand different logics which are there in say designing these parameters, so they can independently and uh, make their own algorithms when they are making what are the important key factors that they need to
Hmm.
focus upon. Because we have been testing these batteries since last 6 years. The number of variables on which we are testing, and the number of batteries we have tested across our lifetime is much
Okay.
more than what financiers would have. We have an independent battery testing team, etc., as well, which is obviously for new financiers it will be difficult to set up. So we are happy to partner with these financiers to have a knowledge sharing session with them to understand what is required, what is not required in defining these parameters, how are we defining these parameters.
Okay. One question about the finance. Like
And as
apart
we move
from.
along, other as we move along, other than battery, also if I just look at the most important cost components which are there, whether it be electronics, we are also
Hmm.
launching different tests de- for understanding the lifetime of these electronics, etc., as well, whether
Hmm.
it be motor, etc. So all those things are already ready. Some of the things are already ready, and some of the things are going to launch within this financial year via APIs. People can access via APIs these things and
Hmm.
determine the health of other important components as well. Obviously, if I just talk about steel, etc., door, etc., these are not very important
Hmm.
component which impacts the secondary value or residual value, but whatever is
Hmm.
important, we are covering it.
Okay, so coming to the next question, what are the biggest barriers to the mass adoption of electric vehicle in India, and how is Euler Motors working to overcome these challenges?
I wouldn't say there are any biggest barriers which are there. There are hurdles. What I would say, if you would have asked me this question around 2 3 years back, I would have talked about barriers. I would say hurdles. One obviously is financing option availability in tier three, tier four markets. As we move along, we have to wait for the financiers to get their go ahead in those markets. If
Hmm.
ready financing options means uh, the regional banks, the pan-Indian NBFCs coming into the fray as well. They are obviously slowly coming into the picture, but that adoption needs to be fast-tracked. That's one point I would want to add.
Hmm.
Other than that, I don't see a lot of hurdle. Basically, obviously, when you enter a market, since it's a new product,
Hmm.
on the customer mind also there will be a lot of questions. They would basically say they have seen the other product for 30, 40, 50 years. Why choose a new
Hmm.
product? But it's part of the cycle. It's part of the adoption cycle. We have entered very new geographies in last 2 years, and we have seen adoption maybe coming. It might take some time, but adoption is coming in those places. Markets like Agra, etc. Now EV are doing quite good. Say 2 years back, the penetration was very low, so it's part of the adoption cycle, basically. That's what I would say. But for faster adoption, what we can do is uh, making obviously uh, uh, more knowledge about EV, sharing more knowledge about EV in those in those customer areas, launching
Hmm.
few incentives in those customer segment areas, having easy financing availability. So these are the key factors which will help us accelerate faster towards EV adoption.
Okay. Thank you. That was a very insightful interview. I thank you for taking your time and giving us a good interview. And I wish
It's my
betterment for
pleasure,
the Euler
Abdullah.
Motors. I wish betterment for the
Thank
Euler
you.
Motors.
Thank you.